Our story begins inside of Palpatine's office as Jedi Master Mace Windu has cornered him at the window. Anakin Skywalker has just arrived and is now faced with the biggest choice of his life. Save Windu or save Palpatine, or in other words inside of his head, save the Jedi Order or save Padme. But as Anakin looked to the burned face of the Sith Lord looking up at him for help, with the evil yellow eyes burning with hatred, Anakin began to see through the lies of the Sith. How could someone capable of such evil, such darkness, be willing and able to save Padme? The only thing that matters to Palpatine is his own power. That was now clear to Anakin. So as Windu raised his blade for the kill, Anakin dropped his saber to the floor, making his final choice. But seeing Anakin make this choice after a decade of perfect manipulation with the ultimate grand plan centered around him, this enraged Sidious more than anything else possibly could have. The Chosen One, the one that was supposed to carry on the Sith legacy for all eternity, was refusing to do it, and this pure anger gave Sidious a renewed sense of power. So as Windu swung his purple blade down, Sidious used the Force to pull Anakin's fallen blade through the air, igniting it through Windu's chest. The Jedi Master gasped in shock as a clean hole was stabbed right through him, and he tumbled out of the window into the night. Anakin lunged forward to save him, but Sidious blasted Anakin with enough lightning to send him crashing hard into the wall. Anakin began to get back up, and Sidious could see in his eyes that Anakin would not be holding back. But Sidious wouldn't give him the chance. Before Anakin could ignite his blade, he was thrown across the room again. Sidious now burned more lightning into him, and he just threw Anakin out of the window to die in the fall. His time was up. But as Anakin fell through the air, his memories of Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Padme, Ahsoka, Rex, and his mother forced him to keep fighting. He failed, but he could still come back. Anakin reached out, slowing his fall by crashing into speeders, sliding across a roof of a building, before slamming into the Coruscant streets that were soaked from the rain. Anakin's vision was blurry, his ears were ringing, and he stumbled around, trying to find Mace Windu. Anakin heard a group of people in the alleyway, and so the young Jedi ran over, trying to keep his balance, and he found Mace Windu sprawled out on the ground. He was completely broken, but he sensed Anakin, and so Windu was able to open his eyes one last time. He got down to him, saying they're going to help him. But Windu coughed, and he said it is too late for him. He grabbed Anakin's robe, whispering to him to save the Jedi, rebuild the Order. It died years ago, but the Council was too blinded by the Sith to see it. Windu said he is the Chosen One, and he told Anakin to go to Tython, find the Seeing Stone. Windu said he wished for the Force to be with Anakin, as he died from his injuries. Anakin looked down to Windu, and he promised the fallen Jedi to fix the Order. But moments later, Anakin sensed something else, a tidal wave of death through the Force, as friends, Jedi, thousands of them, all seemed to be wiped out at once. The feeling was overwhelming, and Anakin looked to the sky as 3 clone gunships learned there were Jedi here in the streets. Anakin was frozen in place as each gunship fired a missile right into his location. Anakin put his hands up with the Force before everything went completely dark in the explosion. When Anakin opened his eyes again, the Coruscant sun had risen, but the air smelled like smoke. Anakin found himself on some sort of medical table, and he ripped off the tubes and wires connected to his arms, and he stumbled over to the window. He was in some sort of luxury apartment near the Jedi Temple, and he fell to his knees as he looked out of the window. The temple was ruined, smoke was erupting from it, and the Force was devoid of any remaining light. Anakin saw his lightsaber on a nearby desk. He grabbed it, but as he stood back up, a searing pain radiated through his right arm, and Anakin realized it was broken, currently in a back-to-sling. He could barely move, and the door opened, and in entered Rig Nima, a Jedi Temple doctor who once helped Master Yoda during the war. She told Anakin to sit, and Anakin asked what happened. Nima told Anakin he's been knocked out cold for many hours. Clone gunships hit the ground near him with a missile, and Anakin was knocked out as he crashed into a building. Nima was on her way home for the night when it happened, and she found Anakin slumped on the ground near her home, so she dragged him inside as clone patrols moved through the streets. Nima said she doesn't know why it happened, but thousands of clone troopers raided the Jedi Temple, and Palpatine proclaimed himself as Emperor, ending the war and saying the Jedi tried to kill him, so they were wiped out across the galaxy. On a HoloNet broadcast, Anakin saw now that Mas Amedda was proclaiming that the Jedi are gone, and he held up the lightsabers of Jedi Master Yoda and Kenobi, who apparently died trying to take down Palpatine. It was all so much to take in, but Anakin now remembered something else: Padme. Anakin ran out into the halls, finding an access way to the roof, and he climbed the stairs to look over to Padme's apartment. It was gone, completely torn to the ground, and Anakin's heart broke. Palpatine has taken everything from him. Nema found Anakin, and she told him they need to get out of here. Clone troopers will be searching for Jedi sympathizers, and she is sure to be on the list. Anakin knew she was right, and he couldn't fight with his arm as it was right now, so he forced himself to hide his despair, knowing there was only one way to make this right. There have to be other survivors out there, and he promised Windu he would bring back the Order. So Anakin hid all of his feelings as he and Nema got into the starship, and Anakin guided her out of the clone blockade that was still reeling from killing Jedi all night long. They escaped together, and Nema took Anakin to a spaceport. It was time for her to start a new life, and she wished Anakin good luck in his next adventures. Anakin thanked her, and she flew away as Anakin looked for a ship to steal. He would fly to Tython, a legendary home of the Jedi in the days of the Old Republic, and now it has become a sort of forgotten planet. There were ruins of temples, but it was so ancient that Anakin knew the Empire would not be looking for more Jedi here. The planet had forests, rocky mountains, water, and everything else needed to survive, along with the ancient Seeing Stone. It was said that if a Force-sensitive being used the stone to send out a sort of beacon, then other survivors could find their way here. So Anakin sat atop the Seeing Stone, and he channeled all of the light side powers he could, and he called out for other Jedi across the galaxy. When the call was over, Anakin sat next to a Tython lake, and he allowed himself to truly feel the emotions of what has happened. Padme, Obi-Wan, Yoda, Windu, the entire Order, the entire clone army, all of them were gone. The emotions overtook Anakin, and he cut through dozens of trees out of pure anger at himself for allowing this to happen. He would soon collapse from exhaustion, and in this exhaustion, Anakin would see a ghost. It was the ghost of Yoda, and he told Anakin to keep going. The Jedi have failed, but someday they will rise again, with him leading them. And when Anakin woke up, he wasn't sure if it was real, but from the skies, ships were now beginning to descend towards him. Anakin ran back to the Seeing Stone, and he soon found Jedi Knight Baylan Skoll coming towards him. The Jedi General was a tall, lumbering man, but he bowed to Anakin, and he said he heard his call and he came right away. Anakin said it was great to see him, and soon, more ships began to land. Anakin and Baylan would find Keller and Beck with the young Grogu, the young boy Caleb Doom without his master. Ser Juna was here with her apprentice Trilla, Padawan Cal Kestis also without his master. Eno Cordova was here. He was an old, wise Jedi who was away from the action when the Order came in. Wookiee Padawan Gungi, Master Quinlan Vos, and of course, Ahsoka Tano with Clone Commander Rex. Anakin felt joy for the first time in so long when he saw Ahsoka, and Rex told Anakin all about the chips. These were all of the survivors that made it here, as any others either didn't feel the call in the Force, or they thought it was a trap, and the others really couldn't blame them. Anakin had Rex speak to all of the Jedi, describing the inhibitor chips and how they made the clones turn. And Rex said he was sure there were other clones like him who didn't turn, and he was going to put everything he has into finding these clones. The Jedi heard this, and then they looked around for who would be leading them. There were a few masters here, but none of them that were on the council. They needed someone to guide them, and soon, the booming voice of Baylan Skoll pointed to Anakin, and he said that Skywalker is their new leader. He's the only surviving Jedi Council member here, and he made the call to bring them together. They must trust him. The young Skywalker looked around as Jedi after Jedi bowed their head to him, and Anakin decided this was a role he must take on. Windu and Yoda have given their blessings as well, so Anakin climbed the rocks, ignited his lightsaber, and he told all of the Jedi here that they've suffered at the hands of the Sith for too long. For years, the Sith laid away in the shadows, hiding, waiting, and they think they've won. But together, they can take back the galaxy from this darkness. And so, for months, the Jedi would rally behind Anakin as they would begin to restore the temples and the outposts here, laying low, training while communicating with Rex as he built his covert operations of clone spies throughout the galaxy. On Tython, Ahsoka would take on the task of finishing the training of Gungi. She had good relations with the Wookiees, and the two of them got on well. With the other Padawans, Cal Kestis was now being trained by Baylan Skoll, Caleb Doom was now trained by Keller and Beck, and Seer was training Trilla still. The group also collectively watched over Grogu, who was deeply affected by what happened in the temple. They would all train together, and Anakin would be seen as their leader. He made it his mission to rebuild the Order in a better way, and the temple was built up, and before long, more young Jedi would hear of this gathering, and the Tython temple would soon have around 50 members here. Anakin would soon attend his weekly meeting with Rex, but for the first time, he would learn something extremely shocking. Rex had a spy inside of the Imperial prison network, and this spy learned of 2 top-secret names inside of the Citadel prison, which the Empire decided to keep, especially after getting these prisoners. The names were Amidala and Kenobi. Hearing this put a stabbing feeling into Anakin's chest. His wife, his child, his best friend could still be alive, and they must be saved. Rex said this could certainly be a trap to lure him and other survivors to the Empire, so he asked Anakin what their next step should be, and Anakin knew there was simply no choice. They must spring the trap. Even just putting aside how important Obi-Wan and Padme are to him, the rebuilding Order in the hopeless galaxy need Senator Amidala and Master Kenobi to help them. And so, a squad of 6 Jedi would board a transport after days of putting together a plan. Rex made contact with a group of clone commandos that never received Order 66, aside from one of the commanders. This was Delta Squad, and 3 of the members called Boss, Sev, and Fixer were on a covert mission without comms when the order came in. Scorch was on their ship alone, and he received the order, eventually separating from his brothers to join the Empire. These other 3 instead would find Rex, and were now working with him and the Jedi. So Anakin, Baylan, Ahsoka, Quinlan, Sayer, and Kelleran boarded the transport as it flew off towards the Citadel prison. The 3 Delta Squad commanders had codes to get past the security, and they said the life forms on board were prison troopers, so they did get past the sensors. Sev flew the ship, landing it on the side of the prison, where the security could not see them, and Anakin carved a hole in the prison wall, so the Jedi could sneak inside. The 6 Jedi separated into 2 groups, with Baylan, Sayer, Kelleran, and Quinlan going into the core of the prison as a distraction, while Anakin and Ahsoka got to the cells that were reportedly holding Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. The 3 members of Delta Squad were protecting the exit pathways for the Jedi to get out of here. Baylan led his squad of Jedi, and it wasn't long before they found trouble. A squad of 12 stormtroopers led by 4 commandos would find them, and a battle in the halls erupted. When the alarms began to go off, Anakin and Ahsoka were able to sneak off together, getting to the cells, and after defeating a few groups of guards, Anakin cut into one cell, while Ahsoka cut into the other. When the doors were ready, Anakin pushed them down, and inside of this cell, he found Padme, 2 twin children, and a few nursing droids in here taking care of them. Anakin ran down, hugging Padme like never before. She was alive, and Anakin didn't have time to consider why she was alive, as Ahsoka, and now Obi-Wan, were at the door. Ahsoka called to the other Jedi, telling them it's time that they get out of here. Obi-Wan was also kept alive, but he had a bad feeling about all of this. It had to be a trap. Why else would he have been kept alive, if not for Anakin to come to him? But the group had to get out of here, as Padme and Ahsoka were guiding the pods carrying the twins. But at the exit pathway, after the 3 members of Delta Squad defeated a group of clones, a red lightsaber would ignite at the end of the hallway. It was an Inquisitor assigned to take out the commandos, as if taking down these 3 clones would be easy. But the 3 Delta Squad members looked to each other and readied their weapons. This was going to be fun. Boss would initiate the attack with a quick barrage of blaster fire, bolts designed to herd the Inquisitor into a choke point. He deflected them with the spinning blade, but the clones anticipated this. Fixer activated an EMP grenade, tossing it at his feet. The grenade erupted with a burst of energy, momentarily disrupting the Inquisitor's focus, causing his saber spin to falter away. Sev seized the moment from a higher vantage point, using a grappling hook to yank a section of the hallway's piping down. The heavy debris crashed toward the Inquisitor, forcing him to leap backwards into another narrow corner. And this maneuver was even more perfect, playing into Delta Squad's plan. As he landed, Boss switched to his anti-armor attachment, firing a well-aimed round. The explosive detonated at his feet, throwing him off balance once more, and Fixer deployed a small remote slicer droid, disabling the hallway's lighting. Now in total darkness, the clones activated their night vision, turning the fight to their advantage, with the Inquisitor's lightsaber still disabled. The three of them fired together, finishing off the Inquisitor, and they alerted the Jedi that their escape is still available. In the other halls, Baylan, Quinlan, Sayre, and Kelleran were moving through the hallway when they too were stopped by a group of 5 Inquisitors. Baylan looked to his fellow Jedi, and he told them they don't have time to fight and make it back to the ship. Sayre asked what they're going to do, and Baylan used a force push to get them behind a blast door before shutting it and looking back to the 5 Inquisitors. Baylan ignited his blade, holding it up to his face, and he told the other Jedi to find a way out of here, and may the Force be with them. Sayre, Kelleran, and Quinlan wanted to go back, but they knew they had no choice. Baylan was doing this to keep the Jedi survivors alive, give them enough time to escape, and so they took off, as Baylan began taking on all 5 Inquisitors. He would have a valiant last stand, taking 2 of them down with him, but ultimately, Baylan would be cut down as he gave just enough time for the others to escape. And finally, in the prison hallway, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and Padme were escaping with the twins when a door in front of them slowly opened and a hooded figure stared at them with his gleaming yellow eyes that Anakin could never forget. Sidious was here. He began to laugh, telling Anakin that he should have killed the boy in his office, as he simply refuses to die. When Anakin's body wasn't found on the Coruscant streets, Palpatine knew he could soon be a problem. So, he made sure to capture Anakin's friends, leak the information to the clone spies that Kenobi and Padme were here, as he knew Anakin wouldn't be able to resist saving them. He ignited a red blade, and said it's only fitting they all die together. Anakin handed Obi-Wan an extra lightsaber, then turned and told Ahsoka to get Padme out of here. They will meet them at the exit. Ahsoka nodded, turning with Padme, as Sidious said he will deal with them soon. First, he will kill Skywalker and Kenobi. And together, Skywalker and Kenobi moved at the Sith like brothers, but Anakin lunged recklessly, strikes wild and heavy, driven by his determination, his anger at the Sith. Sidious just missed an opening to kill Anakin, as Obi-Wan moved to intercept, his own defense elegant but it was strained, struggling to adapt to Anakin's unpredictable offense. Their lack of coordination played directly into Sidious's hands, as he wove through their attacks with ease, his laughter chilling with the chaos of battle. It was clear to him that Anakin had not been training since the fall of the Republic, and Kenobi's time locked away made him weak. This would almost be too easy to even enjoy. Sidious struck again with a new flurry of slashes, forcing Obi-Wan back against the wall, then turned to Anakin with a sudden burst of Force lightning. Anakin barely managed to deflect it with his blade, the energy crackling around him as he retaliated with another powerful overhead swing. But his aggression left him open, and Sidious sidestepped, delivering a precise kick that sent the younger Jedi sprawling to the floor. Obi-Wan rushed to Anakin's aid, only to be met by Sidious's blade once more, the Sith Lord pressing his advantage with an almost playful malice. The 2 Jedi seemed overwhelmed, their disjointed efforts no match for the ruthlessness of this Dark Lord. Sidious spun away, ready to finish this, but as the 2 Jedi stood back up, something shifted. Anakin caught Obi-Wan's gaze for the briefest moment, and without words, they fell into an unspoken, perfect rhythm. Obi-Wan switched from pure defense to a fluid mix of counters, his movements creating openings that Anakin, now much more controlled, would exploit with ease. They were a seamless blend of aggression and defense, as if they were one person, moving as 2, their lightsabers moving as though guided by a single mind as well. Sidious, caught off guard, found himself pressed on both sides of the attack. Anakin's attacks were hammering him with relentless power, while Obi-Wan's calm, calculated cuts denied him any escape. Sidious realized he was tricked. The Jedi were ready for him, and Sidious had a sudden, unexpected, overwhelming, terribly distressing, bad feeling about this. He attempted to regain control, summoning a new surge of lightning to push them back, but the Jedi anticipated it. Obi-Wan absorbed the tendrils with his blade, while Anakin dashed forward, slicing through the lightning with a roar of determination. Together, they forced the Sith Lord into a corner, their synchronized strikes overwhelming even his formidable defenses. Anakin delivered a final, crushing blow to Sidious's weapon, shattering the Sith Lord's saber. Sidious put both hands out to shoot more lightning, but Obi-Wan followed to cut off both of his hands, and Anakin drove the hilt of his blade into Sidious's chest, forcing him down into the ground. The 2 Jedi stood over their defeated enemy after tricking him completely, and Sidious would die here alone. Anakin received a message from Delta Squad, and through the comms he heard heavy blaster fire as Fixer said they need to get out of here. Their escape is being compromised, and the Jedi are all ready to go. Anakin told them to take off, fly to the top of the prison, have the ramp lowered. They will be there. Delta Squad heard this, and the ship took off, evading Imperial fighters that were now closing in on them. Skywalker and Kenobi ran through the halls, cutting down squads of enemies in their path, and they reached the balcony overlooking the entire prison. The transport ship spun into view, the ramp lowered, and Skywalker and Kenobi leapt into the air, landing perfectly as Ahsoka and the others helped them on board. Delta Squad took out the fighters chasing them, and they jumped to hyperspace. The Jedi Order on Tython would reunite with new Grandmaster Skywalker, as Obi-Wan Kenobi would agree that this is what Anakin was meant for. With the news that Sidious was gone, Senator Padme Amidala would return to the Senate and describe everything that happened. Evidence would be shown of Palpatine being a Sith, and the senators would come together to realize they were all tricked into supporting this dictator. Civil war would erupt in the galaxy, as the Imperial military would separate from the senators supporting the Jedi. It would last around a year, but ultimately the Imperials were their own worst enemies, as a control structure was never established. Constant undermining and betrayal for leadership would help a lot, as the Clone Rebellion aided the Jedi in taking back the Republic from the hands of tyranny. As the Republic began to rebuild, Anakin was now leading around 100 Jedi on Tython into their new era. An era would see the Jedi become keepers of the peace around the galaxy for everyone in need. Anakin would one day walk through the Tython Temple and the training grounds to see masters, Padawans, and younglings training, eating, meditating, just enjoying themselves as part of this new order. Luke and Leia would be key additions to the order under their father, and their mother Padme was now the chancellor of this rebuilt republic. Things were good, and the darkness seemed to be quelled around the galaxy. And folks, that is our story for today. This is one I enjoyed quite a bit. I think it's a bit longer. We'll see when it gets edited down. But anyways, yeah, appreciate you guys listening. Thanksgiving tomorrow. Happy Thanksgiving if you're in America, or if you just... Where's Thanksgiving celebrated? Anyways, yeah. Appreciate you guys listening. I enjoyed doing the Citadel in this one. I thought it'd be fun to incorporate. And yeah, just Anakin's not turning. Wanted to kind of mix it in with Sidious, getting some extra power there with just anger. So, hope you enjoyed that part. Got the Jedi Temple Doctor cameo, Delta Squad cameo. We love cameos. Anyways, yeah, appreciate you guys checking this one out. I have an interesting video coming out tomorrow. I think it's going to be similar to what PPSW did a week ago with his like 10-hour long one. Mine will be like 5 hours of just Anakin what if videos. So it'll be all like recycled videos, not new ones. So stay tuned for that if you want to see that. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.